H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys supports 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus. One-time pay, lifetime access to live classes and videos. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For free demo class, visit h2kinfosys.com.
About implicit objects. Implicit objects are basically which supports JSP implementation with respect to an object creation. You don't want to create that, okay? You don't want to get method or post method and then take the parameters out of it. Nothing like that. You have those parameters right available for you and you can use it anywhere, okay, everywhere. Now out of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an introduction to page context. So page context is something which we have learnt about. We heard the definition, but we have not done any coding on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what page context is used for? So first thing I'm going to do is I will add attributes in request, session and application. Okay, and then I'll change that code to use page context for setting the scope. It is also possible, correct? So now first thing is, you know how to do that, how to actually add attributes into this stuff, right? So in here, what I'm going to do is I'll just say request, and you know the drill. You request dot set attribute and it will give you set attribute, right? And you can add attribute. So let me do that. So it will be JSP request attr. Okay, and then I also put the value. Let's say something like request attribute value. Here you go. And you can I'm gonna copy that stuff for others. So let's do that. It's a quick thing. So what you can do, you can just say session. Okay, and context is called as application. Please remember this. This is very important. People get confused there. Application, okay, so not context. Good with that. So here I will just say it's a request session attribute. Okay, and then you have request application attributes. Application. Good with that. So session attribute value and as a context attribute value, so that you will get to know. Fine. So now this is the normal way of creating things. Okay, we have one more thing here which is called as page dot. Okay, but page do not see any set attribute method. Okay, but I told you that you can keep something in there. Then how do I do that? So for that you can use page context dot, and here you have something called as set attribute method. Now here it takes, now set attribute is fine. So when you set an attribute and do not pass anything, okay, by default, I repeat this, by default you will see the attribute in page. It's not in request, it's not in session, it's not in application. When page context dot set attribute is used, the context attribute is set, sorry, the attribute is set in page. Okay, but what if you explicitly want to say that? So here it is called as page. So JSP page attr, and then I have value, page attribute value. Okay, then how do I mention that this particular thing is a page attribute? So I can explicitly say that, okay, this is page context dot, and then you can add this is in page scope. Okay, rather I can use this mechanism to set all the scopes. I do not have to use request dot session dot application dot. I can specify page context dot for all of them, and do what? Do actually specify that, okay, this attribute is not for page, this is for request, and I'll do that with the help of page context dot and then scope variable. So which scope I'm talking about? So this is in request scope. Okay, this one is in session scope, correct, and this one is in application scope, correct. So this is how you can specify. So page context is an object which will be helping you to set the attribute in all 4 scopes. Okay, especially page scopes. So page scopes, anyway, page do not have access to set and get attributes directly. So you need page context to do that. So page context set attribute, you have JSP space attribute and you can get it back. Good with that? Any questions up to this point? All good? All fine? Okay. So now moving ahead, now what up to this point, whatever we learned, right? This is not the way JSPs are actually coded. Okay, this is a basics, like what are the different objects available, what are the things available, but then how do we actually code the stuff? How do we actually write the stuff in JSP? Correct? We need that kind of information. So how do we manage that? So in JSP, they found out, right? If you start writing Java and HTML together, it's kind of getting dirty somewhere, that where exactly these two things are colliding, or there exactly we need to merge them together. So it's practically impossible to have a very clean tiny or very clean tidy HTML which is having Java coordinates. Very hard. So what they came up with is they have created some libraries which are helpful and which will look like a HTML itself, so that you can manage these Java objects better. And these are called as JSTL, that is JSP Standard Tag Library. JSP already has its own long form, but then we have JSTL, which is saying JSTL, basically JSP Standard Tag Library. JSTL is not default JSP. You need to include JSTL in your project. So you need that jar. Where do you get the jar from? So you can again go to Maven. Remember this, very important. Maven, and just say Maven JSTL dependency or API, whatever. It's totally okay. Okay. So now you need to download that particular jar file and get the latest version, whatever it is. So it's 1.2 or revision of 1.2. So it's 1.2. That is the just see the when exactly it's released. So nobody's updating that, but that's okay. We don't care about that. So JSTL here, and then go ahead and download. Okay, jar files, 29 KB, hardly anything. Just click on it, it will be downloaded for you. Okay, keep show in folder, and what you want to do is just include this particular jar file in your project, and you will be able to use JSTL. And now we're gonna learn JSTL and understand how JSPs are useful. Good with that? So show in folder, and now copy that full thing and then put it in your web.xml. Sorry, web.inf lib, not web.xml, web.inf lib. So lib, and paste it here. Good with that? So now JSTL API will give you an amazing API to code and use a lot of functions. But how do we use it? So you use that with the help of, that's okay, yeah. So Java Server Pages Standard Library is a collection of useful JSP tags which are encapsulating core functionality common to many JSP applications. So what are the common functionality? Like core functionality, getting, retrieving, setting values, changing some formats. Okay, so this is core tags. Then you have formatting tags. Okay, we format the date, format the numbers, okay, format percentage, format your currency, all those things, formatting stuff. Good with that. Then SQL tags. How do we connect to the database, fetch the data? XML tags. Okay, how do you understand XML, fetch the data in the XML and put it there? Okay, and JSTL functions, understanding strings. So I want to break the string in between. Okay, replace some words, replace variables, find out a word, find out a variable, all those things. Okay, so these are standard tag libraries. So now we're gonna learn the third directive called as taglib. So taglib is a third directive which is for mentioning your tag library. Okay, so these tag libraries are defined in such a way that you define a taglib directive, and after taglib directive you have to provide a URI. This URI is very similar to your import statement. So basically you are importing that particular tag library in JSP. So when you import this particular tag library, how do we use it? So if you want to use any function from here, you will use a prefix like an object which is called C. So anything which starts from C colon or C dot, okay, we'll see that C colon like this. This is actually coming from core tag library. Good with that. So whatever prefixes given here are just recommendations. You can put your name there. There is no problem with that. But then it's not a recommended way. So recommended prefixes are already given here. Okay, so that anybody, any layperson, any Java developer see this, and he knows that C, that means core tag, FMT means formatting, SQL means SQL, X means XML, and FN means function. So these are already known facts to the developer. So try not to change it, but if you still want to, you can. There is no issue with that. Okay. So prefixes are nothing but an object, kind of an instance. Okay. And out of that, we're gonna do what? Call the functions on this particular tag library. Now, go ahead and include this tag library. So for that, I'm going to create a core tag library JSP. Okay, so we need to understand all these things. So let me put a standard JSPs here, which I already coded. It's already there. Okay, and then we'll try to understand it. Okay, just to save some time. Yeah, I'm muted. You can see that. Just grabbing some files and okay. So what is the difference between URI and URL? They are same. Okay. Generally, we call it URI in a developer's language, and URI consists of IP address and port. Okay. I'll tell you the internal changes is when you say URL, it's Amazon.com, that is a URL. But when you URI, that actually consists of like which exact server and which exact port and what exact application name is. If I have this elaborated developer kind of name, we call it as URI. Okay, but I'll say this is something which is internal to developers language. URI and URL is same.